Well, thank you for inviting me and allowing me to do this presentation. So it's about what do we know and what do we wonder? And when you keep that kind of perspective, you have to think about, as Marty said this morning, what is our past, but then how do we move to a future? What does that future look like? And so I wanted to share with you a little bit about some of the things that I think we know in several different areas of interest, not only for myself, but for my researchers that work in education design. And when this slide comes up, sometimes 20 seconds seems like a long time, I want you to take a look at this. It's an architectural dig. It's a Sumerian discovery, and all of these different sort of stone benches, the archaeologist felt that it looked like one of the first classrooms. So if you think about this, it's 2000 BCE. So a Sumerian archaeological dig. Archaeologist believes that this is one of the first classrooms. Row by column seating, if you will, not necessarily the pedagogy, because we know that there was a Socratic method and lots of conversations. But what do we see in this? What have we seen in the last couple of days? Design in the formal classroom is still row by column seating. So what do we know? We know that there is a pedagogical approach. And what do we see here? I take lots of slides of bad classrooms. It's one of my favorite things to do when I travel. And if you look at this, what do we have? We might have tables and chairs, or we might have just tablet armchairs, or we might have a situation like we have right now. But there's 4,000 years, if you will, of behavioral conditioning. When we think about the way we enter a room, what is the permission we give students? What is the permission that we give faculty? When you think about it, you knew exactly when you came in this room that your behavior was going to be sit and listen. And my behavior up here is going to be talk at you or stand and deliver. So I'm not sure if you can see this slide really well here, but there are lots of different names on this slide. These are some of the most profound thinkers as it relates to learning research, education psychology, learning theories, all of these kinds of components that we have known for 100+ years. In fact, John Dewey's work on the democratization of education will be 100 years old next year, 2016. Key concepts, learning paradigms or worldviews, learning theories, and we don't use them. So when you look at this slide, and you see here, this is a drawing from Leonardo da Vinci, and this is one of my favorite cognitive neuroscientists that I follow, Dr. Terry Sanowski, and now we can do real-time imaging on how the brain is learning. And so when we think about this, we've now had 3 centuries of trying to understand how the brain works and what parts of the brain are connected and how and why. So we've had 4,000 years of behavioral conditioning by the design of space. We've had all of this work as it relates to pedagogy and all of the work in brain science. And we know there are several authors that are talking about what should teachers understand in terms of how the brain learns, what we need to be able to do with this. And lots of different images I'm going to share with you in the next slide. Some of these, what the brain things, 9 brain things that educators should do. The brain is a social organ. We have 2 brains, right side, left side. Early learning is extremely powerful. Conscious awareness and unconscious processing occur at different times. That's Terry Sanowski's work. The mind, brain, and body are interconnected. So all of these 9 things are supporting what are the children today learning. They're learning with these multitude of app quilts, if you will, always looking at that interface with the connection here. It's really important to help that kinesthetic full body understanding of how we learn. And so there's also 9 E trends that are impacting all of us as well. Certainly big data, the analytics of education, gamification, personalization of learning, mobile learning, all these automations, augmented reality, and then also the rise of a cloud learning management system. All of these are impacting decisions. So what do we wonder? We've had all of this knowledge, and yet it's not being applied. Shame on us. Shame on us for not recognizing the work that's been there for hundreds and thousands of years and what works and what doesn't work. So when we think about, I call this the Hermione Granger effect from Harry Potter. How do we keep kids excited? What does that mean? I want to tell you what I've learned. Isn't that wonderful? How come at grade 4 you ask your kids, what happened today? And say, nothing. Why? Because we've beaten it out of them. How can we make space, support, and give permission to act differently? Space gives behavioral cues, and if we're not aware of that, we're in the wrong business. We should not be in education design. You have to understand what learning is all about. So we've had 40 years of environment behavior theory that will tell you that the environment impacts behavior, and that it conditions behavior, and that we can predict behavior by these different kinds of cues. So we need to understand this work. It's not just enough to understand what the educators are saying, because they don't often know. So what do we wonder? Will we eventually design spaces to support all of what we want and what these years of science have told us? Informed design really does matter. It's your job to learn that, not just mine. Thank you very much.